Hi everyone. Today we are going to be talking about Section 198 of the Companies Act 2013, where we talk about managerial remunerations and CSR profits computation. Basically, calculating the profits which will be used for arriving at the uh, limit for CSR and for the limits for managerial remuneration. So this section actually is pretty relevant nowadays because it was asked in question number one of the law paper in December 2021, where generally I feel that they don't test this section in the exam despite there being a question in the ICI study material. Generally, the section that is tested is section 197 along with schedule 5. But this time they tested in question number one, the compulsory question for 6 marks, they tested section 197. 198, I'm sorry. So they tested 198. So I feel that it's a pretty important section and it's a good section to know. It's a very technical section, but with these notes, it will get broadened out. And as we know the rationale and the use behind these sections and what is the essence of the law pertaining to section 198, I think it will be very good to have this knowledge, and also for the practical life as well. When we are in a situation where we have to compute this profits, or when we are auditing a particular figure, uh, sometimes we need to come to the profit when we are looking at the CSR expenditure. We need to see how much the 2% of the average profits of the past 3 years. We need to see that profit figure where if it was appropriately calculated. So for that, this knowledge I feel will help in our practical life also. So if we look at the use, it's used for section 135 and section 197. Section 135 is your CSR and section 197 is your managerial remuneration, where in both those sections they have a reference to profits and they refer the profits back to section 198. So in the rationale between for this section basically is to calculate the profits earned by the business that can be directly attributable to the managerial team. So as per your Indian GAAP or your Ind AS, you would have calculated some profits in your statement of P&L, but those profits are not the profits that you have to consider for section 198, which you'll be using into section 197 and section 135. For that, it's a different type of profits, but there is a reason why these profits are little different than the uh, your normal financial statement profit. That is because these profits are profits that are directly due to attributable to the contribution of the managerial team. So if there's any profit or loss that has been incurred which is not directly attributable to the managerial team, those profits will not be included in this calculation. So that's basically the rationale. And also, I just want to give a thank you to this to CA Pramod Jain sir, because I referred his video and I got a better understanding of the section, because reading the bare text and reading the ICI study mat, also ICI study mat is basically the bare text with respect to this uh, section. So studying that on my own, it was a little difficult to get through it, but this video really helped me to break it down. So I just wanted to give a thank you. Now when we look at the structure, basically this section is broken down uh, into four different parts. So 198.2 talks about items that should be credited, that should be added to the profits, and there's only one item that's there. We will come to that. Section 198.3 talks about items that should not be credited. There are 6 items. 198.4 talks about items that shall be deducted, so expenses basically that should be deducted. And 198.5 talks about expenses that should not be deducted. So this is not like in income tax when we talk about section 115, what is that, section 115 JJB, I think I forgot, but I think for mat, basically for mat computation. So it's not where you start out with net profits and then you do add, you do less, and then you come out with the mat profit. But here you can start out from anywhere. If you see the questions that are coming up, right, it's some of the questions you can start out from the net profit, but some of the questions you can start from the gross profit itself. So this section just basically tells you what you can include in the profits, what you can't include in the profits, and it's up to you where you want to start out from. even in the professional life, when you if you want to start out from the net profit after tax also, or even before tax, you can start, and then you can work yourself up to the profit as per section 198. So totally 26 items are there, and we'll be looking at all these 26 items. So now let's start. So let's start with section 198 profits, and we started with section 198.2, which talks about items that should be included. So incomes, that is credit, is to be given for these items. So basically bounty and subsidy from government. So I understand this as any subsidy that you receive from the government, any subsidy except a subsidy that's specified by the government that cannot be taken for this section. Any other subsidy has to be included in your P&L. It has to be. Next, the other section is section 198 subsection 3, which talks about items that should not be included. Now just keep in mind that because they've just written subsidy from government in section 198 subsection 2, that doesn't mean that you don't include your revenue from operations and your interest income. It doesn't mean that you don't include that. You have to include that also. But this section just talks about that. So basically, from your gross profit, you can add subsidy from government. So that's what this section says. So next, in section 198 subsection 3, credit not to be given for certain items. So let's see these items one by one. One is premium received on the issue of shares and debentures. Now obviously premium received on the issue of shares and debentures, if you look at from normal accounting standards in India's point of view also, you'll be taking it to your securities premium reserve, which in your IGAAP financial statements will go to your reserves and surplus, and your India's financial statements it will go to your other equity. So it's logical. It's logical, pretty logical. If you're an investment company, then the premium received, if it is in the nature of trading, if it is the nature of trading that is in their operation, then you can include it. But if they are also taking it for capital purpose, then you can't include it. Pretty logical. Let's move on. Profit on sale of forfeited shares. So shares are forfeited and then they are reissued for at a higher price, say, and you earn some profit for it. That profit you cannot include it in your profits for section 198. Next, let's go to any profits of any capital nature. That is including a sale of an undertaking, that is a business. If you sell it, and any profit of any capital nature cannot include. Essence is that there is not the contribution of the managerial team directly in the operations. That's what the law is assuming here. Next, profit of any movable or immovable property, but to the extent of the original cost minus the WDV. See, actually, if you look at the bare text of this section, it is here. It's pretty big. See, it's like one huge paragraph is written. I've basically broken it down into this. Any profit that you receive from a sale of an immovable property, that is your fixed asset or whatever, any immovable or movable property you sell, the amount that you can include is only your original cost minus your WDV. So if there's any amount, suppose this your sale value is exceeding even your original cost. So your WDV might have been 5 lakh, your original cost would have been 10 lakh. So 5 lakh, 10 lakh minus 5 lakh is the only amount that you can take as your profit. If you sold it for 12 lakh, then 12 lakh minus 5 lakh is generally 7 lakh is generally what you would have taken into your P&L. But for the purpose of section 198, you can only take 5 lakh. So that is this point. Next is change in carrying amount of assets or liabilities by fair value measurement. Obviously, this is now your in India's FET OCI. If whatever goes to your other comprehensive income, right? That anyway, it's going to other comprehensive income, so you know that here you also you won't consider it. But if you're looking at it from an accounting standards point of view, yeah, whatever is a fair value measurement, you don't include it into your managerial remuneration profits, 198 profits. Next also, it's similar to the above point, but unrealized gains, notional loss, notional gains and revaluation gains. Your revaluation gains, notional gains and unrealized gains. Your unrealized foreign currency fluctuation gain also, they won't be including it because it's unrealized. So next, so that also is fine. So these are basically these items. I feel it's pretty logical. You don't need any abbreviation or anything to remember it because question won't ask you to list down all the items. They'll ask you to, they'll give you some items and you have to, figure out yourself how you're going to adjust them. And if you just know these points, you'll know it. Next is items that shall be deducted. So items that can be reduced. So let's see items that can be reduced. Basically, all your expenditures, all usual working charges. It's basically your, if you're a manufacturing company, your cost of materials consumed, etc., etc. Um, Service sector also, your salaries, travel and conveyance, all that good stuff. Miscellaneous expenditure, everything that is pertaining to your operations, you will be deducting it. That's fine. Director's remuneration. Okay, so see, this director's remuneration, you will be deducting it if you're calculating it for section 135. But if you're calculating for section 197, you won't be deducting it, because the purpose for calculating section 198 profits is to arrive at the profits for section 197, right? Like, if you just want more clarity, it's nicely given over here somewhere on the top. This is ICI study material. So here you can actually see that they've given a note. They've given a note, and in the note they talk about, um, yeah, see here. Here, this is actually this is a provision pertaining to section 197, which tells you 11% of the profits can be given to the for managerial remuneration. There they say note, net profits are to be calculated in accordance with section 198, yes, except the remuneration payable to the director shall not be deducted from the gross profits. So that's basically what I've written over here also, except when calculating for section 197. But for CSR you can take it, huh? For this you can't. Next is bonus commission to employees. Now the section 198 gives some, like, a little bit more technical stuff. They tell to engineers and technical people, bonus given to them. Basically, is given to all employees. That's the essence. Bonus and commission given to all employees is pertaining to the operations. Operations are directly through the contribution of the managerial team. So you have to deduct it also. Take this expense, no problem. Next is tax. Tax on excess of on excess or abnormal profits, not your current tax, deferred tax, which is there near, like a provision for tax, right? That you can't take as an expense. What you can take is any excess or abnormal tax. Now, I have not come across any example as such in any question or even in practical life. I'm not, you know, probably further experience will help me get to that. But as of now, the act says that any excess or abnormal profits. So what you see in your financial statements, the tax amount, right? That you can't take. It'll be before that. So the profits that will be given to the managers will be higher actually. Next, tax for special reasons, circumstance. So it's basically these 2 points go hand in hand. Tax for special reasons, circumstances, and tax on excess or abnormal profits can be deducted, but your normal tax, that is your current tax, deferred tax, can't be deducted. Next is interest. Interest on basically any loans. The Act specifies 3 areas. They specify debentures, they specify mortgage loans and advances, and they specify unsecured loans and advances and secured loans and advances. But basically, even if it's like a term loan, secured term loan, whatever, if it's used for the operations of the business, you can take it. You can take the uh, interest on those loans and advances. So that's also fine. This is interest paid, right? So it's an expense. So you can take it, even if it's a debenture, term loan, anything, you can take it as an expense. As long as it's for the operations of the business. If it's not for the operations of the business, you cannot take. That's the essence. If any ambiguity is there in calculating, you just have to apply this principle and the ambiguity will be lost. Next is repair expenses. Now, this includes maintenance expenses also, because in our financials, in our PNL, we'll be writing repairs and maintenance. So I feel it includes maintenance also, because if you apply the principle, it will include maintenance also. But the Act says repair expenses, but not in capital nature. So if there's any fixed asset and it is specifically for a capital nature expense, then you cannot take it as an expense. But if it is not for a capital, not in the capital nature, then you can take it. Next is any contribution to charitable funds under section 181. This 181 specifies some charitable funds where contribution to be made has to be approved by the shareholders in the shareholders meeting. Such contributions can be taken as a deduction here. Then next is depreciation to the extent specified in section 123. That is basically as per schedule 2. So section 123 is pertaining to debentures. Pertaining to dividend, and dividend has to be paid out of profits, and for this profits you can deduct depreciation, but depreciation has to be as per schedule 2, because the Companies Act gives you a benefit where you can charge additional depreciation where you don't need to take the useful life as per schedule 2. You can take useful life different and you can charge more depreciation also, but for the purpose of section 123 you cannot charge more depreciation. You have to charge it as per schedule 2 itself. You have to take that useful life itself, and that same thing applies to section 198. So it has to be as per to the extent of section 123, not more than that. That's okay. The next is previous year section 198 losses. See, I've just written previous year section 198 losses because here also the wordings are pretty big. So I'll just go down and I will tell you, I'll show you how it's worded over here. It's worded here. See, it's saying here excess of expenditure over income which had arisen in computing the net profits in accordance with this section in any year which begins at or after the commencement of this act, insofar as such excess has not been deducted in any subsequent year preceding the year in respect of which the net profits have to be ascertained. Basically, this means that if you had computed section 198 profits last year and you arrived at a loss, now that loss you have to take it and you have to set it off with the profits over here. So to take it as a deduction over here. That's what this means. Last year ka 198 losses you have to first set that off and then you have to calculate. So that will be a line item over here. So that's what that means. Next is compensation and damages for legal liability and for breach of contract. Any breach of contract and legal liability ka compensation damages you have to take it as a deduction. Next is insurance premium paid for compensation and damages. So that's also pretty straightforward. Any insurance premium that you paid for the damages, compensation or damages for breach of contract or any legal liability, you can take it as a deduction. Next is bad debts. Bad debts written off. I feel bad debts provision also can be taken. If not, please let me know. But I feel it can be taken also because it's for the operations. So next we come to section 198.5. These items shall not be deducted. So items that can't be deducted. Let's look. Only 4 items are there. Section 198.4 was the big one. Right, it had a lot of items. Section 198.5 only has 4 items. So we just look at it. Income tax other than 198.4D, 4 clause D and clause E. You don't consider these items. You don't consider income tax other than those taxes that have been specified there. Why? Because the managers will be given the profits before tax. That's basically what they mean. They'll be given the profits before tax. But if there's any excess or abnormal tax, that has to be deducted, but not your general current tax deferred tax. That's what this means. Next is compensation damages paid voluntarily. So there we talked about compensation damages, right? But here it's saying that if anything is paid voluntarily and other than for the purpose of 198.4M, that is your legal liability and stuff, you can't deduct that. The other one you can deduct, this you can't deduct. So voluntarily you can't deduct. Next is a capital loss. Same case, capital a profit you couldn't add it as a profit, capital loss you can't deduct it. So including the sale of undertaking. Next is a change in the carrying amount of an asset or a liability, which is a fair value measurement. This also you can't deduct it. Any loss you get out of fair value measurement, you can't deduct it. Basically, that's also I feel straightforwardly. That's it. It's not that difficult. It's just these items are there, and it's pretty straightforward once you think about the logic behind the operations. If it's for operations, you include. If it's not for operations, you don't include because operations are directly relating to the management. So that's fine. Now let's just see uh, the study material. One question is there, so I'll just show you that question, and I just solved that question also because I think it is good to solve. There are 2 questions as per my knowledge. There's one question in the study mat and one question that came in December 2021. So if you just look at those 2 questions, I think we can get a good grasp from an examination point of view of these of this particular section. So this question tells you the following particulars are extracted from the P&L for Surya Cement Limited for 31st March 2020. So they give you the gross profit and they give you a lot of stuff, and then they give you the net profit, and then they tell you that you are required to calculate the overall managerial remuneration payable under section 197 of the Companies Act subject to the provisions of Schedule 5. So what we'll be looking, we'll be looking at the calculation of the profits under section 198. Yeah, they're asking us for calculating the managerial remuneration, but we'll be looking at the calculating the profits. Managerial remuneration will just be 11% of what we calculate, so that's fine. So see, basically here they're given gross profits and they're given the profit on sale of building. So this is your profit on the sale of a fixed asset. That adjustment we will do. Salary wages you can include, sundry repairs you can include. See, if you just look at for sundry repairs to fixed asset. Now if you come down, if you look at number 11, it's repairs to repair expenses to fixed asset capital nature. Now ICI has given sundry repairs to fixed assets and repairs to fixed assets capital in nature. So by this, you know that they want you to include one thing, they want you not to include one thing. So you know that you won't include this capital nature stuff, you will include this sundry repairs of fixed assets. Then subsidy from government, you can include compensation for breach of contract, you can include depreciation, you can include loss on sale of investments. You can't include, this you can't include. Interest on unsecured on interest on unsecured loans, interest on debentures issued by the company, you can include, and repair expenses you can't include. That's fine. I think that they have included in a loss on sale of investments, because I think when I was solving the sum, I think they have included this. I'll just we'll look at the answer anyway. So now when we look at the ICI solution, yeah, looks like they have included the loss on sale of investments. And basically I have also made my solution, but mine is a little smaller. So yeah, so here I just made an explanation for this one. So profits under section 198, your net prop, your net prop. So one thing that you need to know is that you got the gross profit figure. No, these are not additions and subtractions in the question to arrive at the net profit. They are just line items, and they're given you the net profit. So you just have to be careful of that. You start from the net profit onwards, start from the net profit, and then profit on sale of building to be deducted back. So what is to be deducted back? Now profit to be considered. Profit actually to be considered is 4 lakh, 10 lakh minus 6 lakh. If you just look at the question, you get to 10 lakh minus 6 lakh, 4 lakh. But profit that is actually considered is 5 lakh. 5 lakh, how did I get? Is 11 lakh minus 6 lakh. 11 lakh, how did I get? 11 lakh is 5 lakh plus 6 lakh. Because that 5 lakh plus 6 lakh, right? It's here. It's here. See, 5 lakh is how much profit that they presented in their financials, and 6 lakh was the WDV. So WDV plus the profit will be how much they sold it for, 11 lakh. So 11 lakh minus 6 lakh is how much profit they actually considered. So extra profit they considered. So they added back, they added extra profit of 1 lakh. So that 1 lakh you have to now deduct it. So I deducted that 1 lakh I deducted. So that's okay. Next is repairs in capital nature to be added back. Capital nature repairs they have deducted. I added it back 2 lakh, and my profit comes as 14 lakh. So I think that they have also done the same thing. So the ambiguity was that investment, because in my view, investment was not to be considered, but yes, they have considered it. So you just need to keep that in mind. Loss on sale of investment, because I thought investment will be like capital nature. So they profit on capital nature, loss on capital nature. Thought you would consider, you would not consider that. They've given a note 4 also. So let's just see note 4. What do they mean by note 4? According to 198 file, loss of a capital nature, including loss on sale of undertaking of the company or any part thereof, shall not be deducted. In the given question, in the absence of the specific information about the nature of investment, the said investments are considered as current investments and revenue nature, and accordingly, no effect is given as it is already deducted while arriving at net profit. So it is very judgmental. So they use that their judgment, and they consider, because nothing was given in the question, they considered it as a uh, current investment, which is in revenue nature. Yeah. So you can also consider it as a non-current investment, capital in nature, and not include it also. So it will come as an addition. That's also. I didn't consider it here because I saw the answer and I was comparing my answer and the ICI answer as well. But if I had seen this in the exam or something, then, or if I see it in the exam, and I'll take uh, the assumption that it is a non-current investment. Next, let's just solve CA final December 2021, the recent exam which we just wrote, and the question number 1. So that question's solution, I've just tried to solve it because I don't know the assumption that ICI will take. and we don't have the suggested answers yet. So I've solved it here, and let me just see whether you agree with it or not. So let me see the question. Yeah. So the question is, let's just go to the question. So this is the question that came. It came for 6 marks. It came for six, but actually I think this one is will only be like 5 marks or some or 4 marks, because there are two other parts of the question which are not pertaining to 198, which are pertaining to 197 itself. But uh, the first part of the question is pertaining to section 198. So here it says that there's a company that's having a net profit of 70 lakhs after including the following items credited and debited to the P&L for the year ended 31st March 2021 for arriving at profit before tax. So what I interpreted from this statement is that 70 lakh is PBT. I don't know whether ICI will interpret it differently, but I interpreted as 70 lakh as PBT. Why I got the confusion, we'll get come to know later. So, but I interpret that PBT is 70 lakh. Just let me know if I'm wrong. Okay. Then they've given some items: profit on sale of fixed assets, revaluation of assets. They have given the fair value changes. We know how to deal with that. They've given the bad debts. That's okay. They've given the loss of capital nature, equity sale. They've given tax, current tax, and then they've given the details of that. Same like we saw in the other question. They've given the details of that sale, and then they're asking to calculate the section 198 profits. So you see, it's actually a simple question if you think about it, and if you know the provision. But the thing is that if you don't know the provision, then you'll be like, oh, okay. So let's just go to the answer. See, so profit before tax, I got it. Then profit on sale of fixed assets. So this is also pretty straightforward. I feel its profit to be considered was 3 lakh, 16 lakh minus 13 lakh. Where was it? 16 lakh minus 13 lakh. And profit that they did consider was 7 lakh. 7 lakh directly I took it from the question because they showed that as 7 lakh. So they consider 4 lakh excess. So that 4 lakh excess they added to they added it to get 70 lakh. So I deducted that. So I deducted that, and I gave the workings also. And then revaluation of assets. You can't consider revaluation of assets. It's given specifically in the section that you can't consider it. I think in section 198.3 you can't consider it. So I deducted it because it came as a revenue item, revaluation of assets as a revenue item. Then change in the carrying amount, fair value changes also, I deducted it 9 lakh. Then loss of capital nature, I added it back because it came as an expenditure. Loss of capital nature, I added it back. Perfect. And then this is where I got a little bit of a confusion. Tax expense, because see, they have given me profit before tax. That's how I interpreted 70 lakh as profit before tax. And then they given me, and then they told that all these items have been credited and debited, and one of those items is tax expense. So ideally, if they're deducting tax expense from profit, then what you get is your profit after tax. But here they're saying for arriving at profit before tax. So I just wrote the assumption as not to be considered, as it is assumed that PBT is 70 lakhs, tax is not to be deducted under section 198 subsection 5 clause A, and I put it as nil because I'm not giving any effect to it. And my final answer comes to section 1 comes to 55 lakh profit under section 198. So that is how I solved this question. I didn't solve it like this in the exam. I don't really remember how I solved it in the exam. I think I made some mistakes because I tried to use logic over there and I tried to uh, do some adjustments. But after knowing the provision now, this is how I would solve it in the future. And yeah, I hope that this video was helpful because generally while studying this, if you're studying this provision directly out of the Bare Act or out of the ICI study mat, it can be a little intimidating, I feel, because it was to me, and because it felt a little intimidating, I decided to just skip it. And because I just knew that the 198 profits, you have to add some things, you have to deduct some things. I didn't want to, have that burden of studying all those things because there were other things, section 197 and all those other things are there to study as well. But now you know that this section is pretty important. So yeah, that's all from my side, section 198.